Welcome back to the MMA Plug, presented to you by the Fan Cave on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. You can give me a follow along online at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. We got our man, Danny Bailey, behind the glass, holding it down for us. We're joined by a special guest here in studio today for you folks, the Champ Elias Rodriguez. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We're grateful for you to come in and take the time for us here on a Tuesday afternoon. You're fresh off of a big victory that's this weekend, claiming your second belt in basically a year's time. How does it feel?
It feels good, bro. Honestly, I'm supposed to win, I feel like. So when I get these belts, it's just when I get these shows, it's just showing that that's what I'm supposed to do. What I'm doing is paying off. So it feels good that it's paying off. Winning is nice. And I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now.
Certainly. I mean, so it's kind of the it was written kind of concept for you. Like you don't go in there thinking, oh man, like this is a great opportunity, I'm going to try. No, like I'm going in there and this is a business trip. Like if I come back anything short of having this gold wrapped around my waist or these belts around my waist and getting my hand raised in victory, then I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm not training just to get belts and stuff. Like I'm training to win. I'm training to be the best. I train with the best, and getting there and doing what I'm doing, like it's a good feeling. But and I do love winning, but that's what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to win. I'm supposed to dominate. And if I don't do that, even in my fights when I do win, like this last one I'm watching, I'm like, this was not as good. This was not as good. So there's always some type of improvement, which is real fun.
Certainly, but that's also not to say. I mean, you came in first round and you pretty much dominated from bell to bell, from the very start of the fight all the way to the end. So that's great, though, to hear from your side of things. You're a student of the game. Real quick, though, before we get deeper into things, where can people follow you online?
You can follow me on IG. That's all I got. It's erod30, EROD.30.
Perfect. Now we'll get back to the fight talk here, but like you say, there wasn't a whole lot of tape to evaluate because you got that finish pretty quickly in this fight in that first round. But being that you are such a student of the game, I'm sure that you always have an eye, or you always have a thought of, man, I could have done this a little bit better. This could have been a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. There's always something to learn from wins and losses. Like I don't think you could take anything and just say it was absolutely perfect. Even when I fought last year and I got the Combat Club belt, it was only 30 seconds. But there were some things that I was like, I don't like that I did this. I don't like that I did that. I was exposed here. And I think that's what's great about fighting in martial arts, especially because there's always a new mountain to climb. Like there's always some type of growth that you can achieve. And I think that's a big part of why I do martial arts,
Oh, certainly. But let's talk a little bit about that background and the tutelage that you come up under. You mentioned that you train with some of the best out there. You're with Elevation High Altitude Martial Arts. But I think one of the big noteworthy influences that a lot of people always see and see essences within your game coming from Corey Sandhagen. What has that influence made for you or meant for you throughout time?
Yeah, Corey's been a big part of my journey. Obviously, when I got to High Altitude, it was like 2015, and I just did jiu-jitsu and all that.
Mind you, how old were you at that point?
I was 14.
Exactly. Exactly. This is a young blue chip prospect, but continue.
Yeah, so I met him there, and I don't know why he liked me, to be honest with you, but he would just kind of help me out here and there, and I think I listened pretty well to what he said. And since then, he's just been teaching me a lot. I try to apply what he says immediately, because I think that's important. And he's gotten me really far as striking, grappling. My whole game has changed constantly because his whole game is changing constantly. And I think I'm getting to a point now where I can kind of like start to diverge. I think I was really trying to copy what he would do a lot, and I still try to copy a lot of stuff. But I can't be Corey. Like I'm not Corey.
You've got to have your own little flavor in the mix,
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Which I think I'm starting to figure out, which is a lot of fun. But I still got a lot to figure out too.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you're still so young in your career that you have a lot of time to continue to develop and figure out what is really your game. I mean, that's something that we talk about at our gym a lot is you have to own your game. What are the cornerstones of who makes you who you are? Yes, there's going to be a lot of things that you might pull from those influences, but there's also going to be some stuff that you have to kind of patchwork quilt your own sort of style into, because maybe what works for one might not work the best for you, and what might work well for you isn't something that they do as well
Yeah.
on the flip side. And especially someone who has as much time training as you have at such a young age, there's going to be so many layers. Like, guys, I talk about it all the time that the next generation is coming. They are talented, they are good all the way around. And look no further than one of those prospects right here, who I've told you about time and time again. A lot of the prospects who I've mentioned to you when you guys all ask me who is next or who's on deck, I haven't missed with very many at all, if any. And as I told you guys last week, this is one of the brightest prospects that Colorado has to offer. I mean, cleans up in in each of the Colorado flagship promotions in terms of the title picture. Had a big win for us in the 5280 Thai Fight Series ring earlier. So again, you mentioned that you're a jiu-jitsu guy, you're a grappling background, but you're going out and you're putting on show-stopping type of performances in the striking realm. So I mean, that I think that's just a kudos to you and your growth and development through the years.
Yeah, yeah. I started jiu-jitsu when I was like 8. Uh, it's funny. I got in a fight the day before and the day after my first jiu-jitsu class. um, and the day before, I got beat up by a girl. Yeah, she did taekwondo, and I thought it was like jiu-jitsu, some Bruce Lee stuff. So I don't know, for whatever reason, it didn't click that guys and girls shouldn't fight each other. She was like 13. Spinning back kicked me in the stomach so hard, and I was damn. I got to learn something. I went to jiu-jitsu the next day. I learned to rear naked. Went to school. I had a bully. Was looking for him in the library and choked him in the library. I got ice cream after that.
Can't really beat that right there. Now, if we're just talking about that time and the growth, what did that, what was that, what inspired you to go start training, was having that happen to you, or was it more or less you wanted to get into it and it just was finally the right time to start?
Training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, just training in general. I mean, I always find it interesting to know what people's origin stories are. There's some, like we had Miguel Barrientos, one of our Colorado Combat Club champions, who he saw, he always kind of has that scrapper mentality in the first place. And then he saw it for the first time on TV and like, oh no, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to train to be able to fight. Whereas there's some who then they start training as just, a means of the discipline, the martial arts aspect itself, and then you just kind of fall into fighting, or fighting finds you. What would you say is the situation for yourself?
Uh, so when I started training, it was mostly just for like self-defense, jiu-jitsu. Like I said, I was getting bullied, so I was a real small kid. I was like 70 pounds my freshman year in high school. So I mean, I'm glad I did jiu-jitsu. My dad just put me in it. He's like, "You're not good at baseball. You're not good at basketball. You don't run very fast. We got to put you in something." We're an active family. We like doing stuff. And I was just training. I didn't ever really think I was gonna fight. I think younger me would be very surprised at what I'm doing right now. But I like where I'm at, and fighting has just been fun. Like, I was fighting in school. I started, doing jiu-jitsu and doing grappling tournaments. I liked that. I did wrestling. I liked that. I liked winning, and I just kept doing it. Once I got to high altitude, I think that's when I was like, okay, maybe I should fight, and I started striking, especially. I was like, yeah, I wanna do this. This is fun. And it just kept going from there. Like, I kept winning, and I just kept on trying to improve. And yeah, the rest is history. I keep just doing what I'm doing.
Now, being that you do have now, let's call it a little bit of clout in the game as far as being recognized. You have 2 championships to bolster to your resume now at this point, and some praises from a lot of big mouthpieces out there around the fight community. Do you feel like that adds pressure to you, or is it just still something like, no, you expect this?
I mean, yeah, I feel pressure sometimes from other people just because they're like, "Hey, you're so good. Like, you do this." I get compliments. I don't really like those compliments just because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm okay with that pressure. Um, when like I get a fight and stuff, maybe there's a little bit more, but you just have to learn how to deal with those emotions. Like, you're gonna have pressure in everything
Mhm.
your whole life. Whether it's in a relationship or financially or in a sport, in a career. So I'm okay with that. I've kind of learned how to deal with it. I'm still learning to deal with it. Corey, again, is also a big part of that, and he's taught me a lot on how to deal with yourself and your emotions and the mental side that comes with fighting, which is a big part of fighting. And yeah, that's about it.
Stylistically, you have great footwork.
Yeah.
Great footwork, a lot of dexterity in the hips. You can pretty much switch stances at will. Does that come strictly from training, or was there anything else along the way that kind of helped you with that? You mentioned, didn't have as much success in some of the other sports where we see somebody like Corey. A lot of people say, well, he had that basketball background, so that definitely has some help toward the agility and the footwork. Was it anything for you growing up that maybe helped with that aspect?
Uh, when I started striking high altitude, we switched stances a lot, obviously because of Corey and Christian. Um, so I started doing it there just because Corey was doing it, and I was like, I want to do this. It felt more natural than just staying in one stance. But I don't think I don't think I really started to understand it until I started dancing a lot. So I
I was
started
hoping
doing
that you were going to give me that
yeah.
answer. I was hoping. I was hoping. I put the bait on the hook, ladies and gentlemen, and he took it. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, so I started dancing a lot. Um, actually, pretty not that long ago, like last year, and you have to stand tall. Like when you're dancing, you're not leaning over or anything. You got to stand tall, or else it's weird, and the girl just thinks you're a weirdo. So I was like, Mom, I got to learn how to dance because I'm Dominican and I didn't know how to dance. So I'm like, I got to learn how to dance, and I started getting good at that. My footwork in dancing was like a little off. I had two left feet, kept doing it, and then it would translate to striking. So before sparring and stuff, I would actually warm up with bachata or merengue, and just switching stances when you're dancing without you even realizing it. And then that just plays into striking. Like it played into striking for me a lot because you have to keep your weight, you have to keep your feet under you when you're dancing. Then when you're striking, you have to keep your feet under you. You have to keep your weight under you. When you're gonna shoot, you got to keep your feet under you. You got to keep your weight under you. And yeah, just translate it. I mean, it translated well. I didn't really think it would, but once I started doing it more, and then I started striking, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like dancing.
I mean, in a sense, it like fighting and striking, it is a dance in its own way,
Yeah,
right? Like, and to take the term that's been most popularized by current UFC middleweight champion, that's the man dance. So when you start adding in the striking on top of it, and being able to sit down on a punch or whatever strike you might be throwing while keeping your balance in the process, I think that there is dividends that are paid there, right? And you see that from athletes from other sports. There's a lot of football players, a lot of defensive backs, receivers, so on and so forth, that they do a lot of dancing
yeah.
just to be able to work on that footwork. So, I think that that's something that has played through for you. But I want to ask you this because now that you've racked up a couple of titles here, what is next? Are you looking to continue to take another couple of AMI fights? Are you looking to turn pro soon? Or what does that look like for you?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I have to talk to Corey. I know a few of my coaches kind of brought up like the idea of going pro before this fight, just because we couldn't get a matchup. It was pretty hard. And I was like, no, I want to do another amateur because I like it's experience. Amateur's experience. I'm not trying to, be one of those guys that's real good and then he goes pro and he doesn't have a lot of experience and he loses all the time. I don't want that to happen. That's not gonna happen to me. So if Corey wants me or Christian wants me to do another amateur, like I'm cool with that. If it's time to go pro, it's time to go pro, and that'd be cool too. I start making a little bit of money to start. Um, and I guess I'm okay with just seeing what happens and where we go from here.
Definitely, and I think that that's a great point that you made there. And I also, you're not the regular guy, and I mean, I know you don't like these type of compliments, but you have that type of bright future to where you don't have to rush it right now. But that is a great point that you brought up, though, with someone who has the resume that you do now at this point. It is going to be tough to find some fights, especially within the amateur ranks. That's how, like we mentioned him earlier in the show, Luis Grimgoulet, who's going to be fighting for Fury this weekend. That's how he was toward the end of his amateur run, just ran through and steamrolled everybody at that point, and he had to basically turn pro when he did, and it obviously has paid off, being that he's sitting at 6-0, 5 finishes right now coming into this weekend. But he had issue by the end, and even still within the pro ranks, like he had to his last fight, he had to take up a weight class because he couldn't get a fight. But he just still needs to continue to stay active to try to punch his ticket into the UFC.
Yeah,
So I'm sure that that's kind of that same dynamic that you're facing right now. Is just there's not a lot of people who are lining up to say they want to fight you.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Now, would you in the mix or in the meantime, if it's something that's put on the table, like we mentioned, you fought in the 5280 Thai fight series ring. Would you entertain another Thai fight, or is it just kind of what gets put in front of you?
Uh, I mean, I like kickboxing and Muay Thai. I'd probably do another one, whether it's amateur or pro. I know Corey did that a couple times, and he did a lot of tournaments. Um, so I would entertain another Muay Thai fight if the timing is right, and obviously MMA, the timing is right. Like whenever that pops up, I'm cool with either.
Awesome, awesome. And before we head out on this break for your interview segment, where can people follow you again?
You can follow me on Instagram at erod30, EROD.30.
Guys, that is the double champ Elias Rodriguez coming out of high altitude martial arts. I'm Jordan Kurtz. Give me a follow along online at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Stick around after the break. We're going to go 3 rounds to close out the hour. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by the Fan Cave on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That helps us continue to produce this original MMA content and bring it for you every single week. Tune in to the MMA Plug presented by Fan Cave on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio.